Hi everybody. So in this video we're going to discuss how to build a security system using a photoresistor and an LED and a little buzzer. And this security system is going to be somewhat similar to what you see in some of the movies where there's like a laser line, and then whenever the person trying to steal something breaks the laser line, an alarm goes off. So that's the type of thing that we're going to be talking about today. And what we're going to do is a variation on that. And I want to sketch out sort of the basic circuit, and then we'll move into and look at how to build that in actuality. So instead of a laser beam for the thing that we're going to break, we're just going to use an LED, just a visible light source for our light beam. So we've already talked about how to do this. And so what we'll do is we'll use 5 volts from the Arduino, and that'll go into the LED. This here is the symbol for an LED. And then of course we need a resistor to limit the amount of current going through the LED. And a value that works pretty well is 220 ohms of resistance. So this will create an LED. This LED will always be on, and it's going to be emitting light from that LED. What we'll then do to detect this light is we'll use the same 5-volt source, and we'll send that to our photoresistor. So I'll put a little arrow through the photoresistor. Sometimes that arrow is there to indicate that the resistance can vary or change, which is what happens with a photoresistor when light hits it or when light doesn't hit it, when light changes really that's hitting it. And then for the resistor down here, a 10K resistor works well. This is the same setup that we were doing in the last project with the dusk till dawn timer. And we'll do the same kind of thing we did before. This point here will go to the Arduino. So let's see if we can understand what's going on here. So this circuit here, 5 volts, sends current through the LED, limited by the 220 ohms, back to ground. So that's going to turn the LED on. The LED is emitting light. That light is going to be detected by the photoresistor. And that signal from the photoresistor is then going to go to the Arduino. And what we want to do is, if something comes in and breaks the beam, then we want the Arduino to trigger an alarm. So we'll need an additional circuit with an alarm. And I'll show you how to do that when we get to the actual build. But let's think about the logic here. So if the beam is broken, then we want to trigger the alarm. And so we'll have to introduce a little bit of new coding into this with some if statements in order to trigger that. And then once the alarm is triggered, we have a couple of different options. What we'll do is, for our project, if the beam is restored, turn off the alarm. So this will be the basic setup that we're going to use. So let's transition to the breadboard, and we'll see how we can actually build this and how it actually works in the real world. We're going to build a security system, kind of like what you see in some of those heist movies, where there's all those laser beams, and if the thief breaks any one of those laser beams, an alarm goes off. So we're going to use a photoresistor and an LED to trigger an alarm. But before I show you how we're going to set up the light beam, let me first show you the alarm that we're going to use. So what we're going to use for the alarm is this active buzzer that came with the Arduino Super Starter Kit. And the way it works is whenever there is 5 volts and across the terminals here, then the buzzer will buzz. So one end, the blue end, goes to ground, and the other end goes to our Arduino channel so that we can turn it on or off. Now this buzzer is polarized. I've got a little piece of tape on it to make it a little bit less loud, but you can see, maybe you can see in the video, maybe not, but on yours you'll be able to see that there's a little plus sign, and that plus sign is the positive side and should be connected to the white LED that goes to the channel, and the side without the plus should go to ground. So I've got this hooked up with the positive side going to channel 8, and I've got just a little bit of code set up just to show you. So we set our pin mode, channel 8 to output. I'm going to turn it on, leave it on for half a second, and then turn it off. I'm putting this all in the setup because I just want to run it once so that it doesn't beep non-stop. So let me go ahead and upload this and you can see what it does. So there you hopefully heard the buzzer beep for just a half second there. So let me bring in the rest of the circuitry for the system, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so now I've brought in the rest of the circuitry. So let's walk through what we've got. So the beam we have is going to be right in between here. So if something breaks the beam that'll exist here, then we want this alarm to sound. So to create the beam, we've got an LED connected through a 220 ohm resistor. One end of the LED is connected to positive, the other to the 220 ohm resistor, back to ground. Of course, we're powering the power rails with the 5 volts along the red cable to the positive from the Arduino board, and the negative through the blue cable to ground on the Arduino. So this LED is always going to be on. It's not going to be controlled in the code. It'll just always be on, and it's shining at this photoresistor. The photoresistor is set up the same way we did in the dusk till dawn experiment. One end goes to positive, then back to a resistor, and then through the resistor to ground. We've got at the midpoint of this voltage divider, we've got our yellow cable running to channel A0 to read in that signal. And so when this is on, this light will shine on the photoresistor, and this will be a larger voltage. When the beam is broken, then there will be less light on the photoresistor. This will get dimmer, and when it gets dimmer below some threshold, we're going to turn the buzzer on. So let me take a look at the code. Let's take a look at the code here and see what we've got. So again, pin mode, channel 8 is the output. That's going to control the buzzer. Just initialize that in the setup. Then in the loop, we're going to want to read in channel A0 into sensor value, just like we did in dusk till dawn. And now we've got this if statement. So if the sensor value is less than some threshold, I've got 250 for the threshold for my code for right now, but you'll have to play with that and see what works for you. But if the sensor value gets less than 250, that means the beam has been broken, and we're going to turn channel 8 on, which is going to make the buzzer sound. Otherwise, turn the buzzer off. So let me go ahead and plug the Arduino in, and we'll upload this code and see how it works. Okay, so now I've uploaded the code, and you'll notice that the LED is now continuously on, sending a light beam over the photoresistor. And I'll use the pencil to break the beam. So now the beam's broken, and hopefully you can hear the alarm going off. Now I'm going to move the pencil out of the beam, and the alarm goes off. And so that is a really simple security system that you can do. And you can do all sorts of variations on this. You could set it up so once the beam's broken, it stays on, even if you remove the pencil. So we could do that by simply getting rid of this else statement. So we'll go ahead and upload this. So now when I break the beam, even when the beam is restored, it's going to stay on. And you see it keeps buzzing. Now if we want to reset it, we need to reset the code. So I'll push the reset button over here. And now it's been reset. So that's one way you could vary this design. There's other ways you can do it. Another way that would be kind of neat is instead of using a visible light, if you use an infrared light, and then the beam would be totally invisible. So just another way that you could play around with this. But pretty neat little project. So play around with it, try some different variations, and see what you can come up with.